Hi there, it is me, the Twinmotion Guru, and I'm here today to explain you or to show you how to use correctly the new Parallax Windows from the Twinmotion new version 2025.2, in particular under the object category and then Parallax Windows. These objects, we can name them as it, are really amazing because allows us to create let's say a fake interiors instead of applying any materials, 3D elements inside all our interior scenes, especially in my point of view when we work with exterior renders. Here, for example, in this scene I have a lot of empty rooms, empty spaces that in order to create let's say a realistic render should be advised to add elements, 3D objects all over the spaces you want to render, or at least that you see in your final render. So let's make an example. For instance, here with this scene, if rendered like it is right now, I will see, as you can see, the bricks of these interior walls, these empty rooms, and all these elements, all these windows that are showing, let's say, nothing, or at least the reflections of other buildings or elements behind the camera. So let's start with the parallax elements, because from here you have a lot of default elements that you can bring inside your scene. Here they are divided into office, residential, and other elements that you can use without any problems for free. Or if you prefer, you can just drag a custom window inside your project and then import a texture from your PC, or that you download from a specific website, and so on. But today I'm working with let me just take I don't know, maybe something like that. Let me just say it. When you just drag it inside your scene, it shows something like that. That, of course, is a two-dimensional, let's say, plane. In fact, as you can see, while I'm moving inside of it, I'm just, let's say, crossing it without seeing the depth of it in a 3D space. This is exactly a 2D elements that inside of it, as you can see, helps us recreating depth spaces, depth situation. We are just faking the interior in this specific area, but it's, as I said before, it's perfect because we are not importing 3D elements all over our project. So let me just rotating it a little bit and just moving it inside the building or inside the space. And as you can see, let me just maybe move it, let's say, near the window, or yeah, like this, inside the windows, as this. And perfectly, as you can see, right now, I don't have to characterize my interior because these 2D elements, this parallax window is helping me characterizing the scene. So let's check for the parameters, and in particular here we have, for the parallax windows in the properties menu, a lot of menus that can help us characterizing or modifying it a little bit. So first of all, in the day panel and night panel as well, we have the texture box where we can add some texture that we can maybe download from the web in order to modify the parallax window here. But I don't suggest you to modify this from here, because inside the library we have, as I said before, a custom window that can be modified with just one click. So here you can just modify the texture, but more importantly, from here and from the night scene, night panel as well, you can modify the exposure of this window. Okay, but this is not something that I suggest you to do right now, because at the moment the only one thing that is good and important is to place the parallax window, maybe modifying some other parameters, but the exposure is something that you should, in my point of view, modify only after creating your scene, and in particular after set your natural and artificial light. Because if I leave it as, I don't know, maybe 4, okay, as an exposure, but from here, as you can see, this 4 exposure is not sufficient to highlight this interior, I will, of course, from here modify it again. So the exposure, in my point of view, is something that needs to be modified both night or day. Of course, it depends on the scene you want to create after you set your natural light. So I'm just leaving it for a second moment. Here, of course, you can modify the tint, but this is not something, let's say, common. It's something really specific for a specific situation. But here, in the night, we have something a little bit interesting, because yeah, we can modify the temperature of these parallax windows, but here in the dusk to dawn button, as you can see, it is already checked. If we modify the time of day or our scene and move to a night time, time, as you can see, it highlights with, of course, the lights, the artificial lights that are inside this parallax window. Of course, we can modify this exposure by, of course, changing this value. The same thing, of course, applies for the temperature. But the dusk to dawn is really important in order to modify or to switch from the day exposure to the night exposure once we modify the time of day. Okay? If you haven't it checked, you want to see the differences between. Oh yeah, right now I see it, maybe because I think there is a little bug, but you should now see the changing from day and night once you modify the time of day. Okay, but normally this is something that I leave checked. In the details panel, here we have the nightlight simulation. That is something that I will explain once I characterize the entire building, so I'm just leaving it as it is right now. The only thing useful right now to explain is the fact that let's say that I don't know, maybe I want no, not like this. I want the interior with this exposure. Okay, if you want to modify the exposure of this parallax window, you of course have to modify the exposure under the day section, because otherwise the night is not modifying anything, because it is related to a night scene. Let's say that here we want to, let's say, switch on all the artificial lights. So what we have to do is, as you can see, we are not modifying anything right now. We have to switch off the dusk to dawn button, and right now, as you can see, by modifying this exposure value, the artificial lights are showing. Okay, you can't go over this value, so if I press the 50, it remains to 10. I think this is something that could be changed in the future. Because right now the let's say artificial light value or highlight here is not that much, in particular in this situation, but in the real life we have a lot of artificial light effects in all over the bakeries, in commercial activities in general. So this is something that, in my point of view, should be modified or improved in the next version. But for now, if you want to add artificial light inside a parallax window in a daytime scene, you just have to uncheck the dusk down button and then, of course, modify the exposure value from here. Okay? Yeah, you can modify it as well in order to create a better relationship, but it's not that powerful right now, this specific topic with the parallax windows. If you don't want them to be switched on, just uncheck or check the dusk down. As you can see, they are switching on and off every time I press the down button. As you can see, if I try to enter the scene, 1, 2, 3, oops, the scene the parallax windows just disappear, because as I said before, it is let's say fake interior scene created on a two-dimensional surface. Okay, so it is just a projection of what could be inside this scene. So let's move on. I'm just leaving the details here for a second moment. In the size, we can modify, of course, the size of our scene. Normally, it's something that I'm not changing, but maybe the depth is something that you should or could modify in order to create a deeper situation. In the details, well, you can modify the offset, the stretch, but this is not something really difficult. Layers is something really useful and important to modify if you want, of course, to modify the position of the elements. In particular, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are exactly the elements inside the scene. I don't know exactly what they are right now, but the number 1 could be maybe the logos here on the glasses. Let me just modify the depth, and exactly, as you can see, we are modifying the also the curtains or whatever they are. We are modifying the position by modifying the depth option of these elements. Not only 1, but also the number 2, that should be the chairs here. Oh, not the chairs, but here this table. I don't know exactly the name in English, but by modifying all these, here are the chairs. As you can see, you can modify the position of all the elements here. I don't know what is this. Yeah, maybe this 4, maybe something that is not visible right now. But by clicking, of course, on the enable button, you can see or unsee the elements related to this parallax window. Okay? After that, inside the glass parameter, you can, of course, add, let's say, a glass film to this parallax window. And in particular, as you can see, I'm modifying it, in adding another film, say, of reflective material, glass elements, here on these windows, of this parallax window. In my point of view, if you still have windows like I have right now, surfaces, it's not that useful to add another glass layer here. It could be useful maybe if you have, let me just say, you have, well, I don't know, maybe here you don't have all these detailed elements, but you have buildings, concept buildings like this one, okay, like these ones, okay. But here you want to place some parallax windows, so this one, and this one. For them, adding a glass material or a glass parameter is something that could be useful in order to create more realism. And in particular, by adding this, the parallax windows will be affected by the weather conditions. So if it rains, you will see all the rain drop on the surface. Okay, but right now this is not something that we need. After the glass, the last option is, of course, the option tab, and from here you can decide if you want all the walls seen and visible inside your parallax window, or if you maybe prefer the original wall. Maybe let me just press on the left. So from here, this wall will disappear, or that projection will disappear, leaving the default brick wall from the 3D model. Okay, this is something that could be useful maybe if you want to preserve a specific area of an interior space or an exterior space. But right now, I think it's quite good like it is with the default parallax window. So if you prefer, you can just modify everything you want or mirror the parallax window. Okay, the layer ID and collision are just common values and parameters, so I won't analyze them. in order to create a good and realistic render here, you should add Parallax Windows everywhere you prefer. So here, as for this example here, you can add elements wherever you prefer. So maybe here I'm adding a residential element. Of course, not here, but maybe let's say here. Okay? From here, this specific element maybe should be moved a little bit here. And for example, here it's critically important to know how to use layers, in particular because maybe I want to hide these curtains because I want to see completely the interior without any layers. So I'm just disabling the curtains, and as you can see, I'm seeing right now the entire space. Okay? So for this one, let's say here we have 3 windows, so I think I should use again another big parallax element. Yeah, maybe this is a little bit too big. Let me just take, is this one? Yeah. Okay. Okay. And so on. So the only one thing here you have to do is characterizing your scene or your interiors with all the parallax elements like this, but be careful because maybe some parallax windows like like this. Let me just hide this tree because okay. Be careful because maybe sometimes your parallax window could let's say escape from your interior scene. So you have just to modify the position or at least the size of it, not from the the width ratio or the depth, but inside the details. Okay, so just fit all your parallax windows inside your scene and then be prepared for the natural light. I'm just cutting the video to add all the other parallax windows. So after you imported all your parallax windows, you should have a situation like this. I just created a container, a folder with all of them. And as you can see, for instance, here we have this parallax window, here we have this other one, and so on. So after that, you have 2 different options, or you just create your media and modify all the exposure values in order to create the perfect match for your final render, or you just select them all, and if you want, and of course if you have a night scene, if you want to create a night render, you can under the details panel here activate the night life simulation. Here it is necessary to move inside the not inside but with a night time of day. Oh, here I have a little problem. Okay, perfect. By selecting them all and activating the night live simulation, you can modify some really nice, I think, elements. Let me just modify a little bit these 2 parallax windows. Okay, nice. In particular, here in the nightlife simulation, you can modify the amount of elements that are switched on or switched off, as you can see, casually. This is not something that you can control. It will modify. This value says that, for instance, that 50% of the elements are more or less than it is not mathematically correct, but let's say that the 50% of the elements are switched on or switched off. From here you can modify the temperature randomizer, so leaving it at 50%, you won't see any differences between the original parallax and these ones, but by modifying it, as you can see, we are seeing different temperature lights all over our scene, and this is something really useful, in particular, maybe not here in this situation, but if you have a really large building, in order to create some randomization. The exposure randomization here helps you as the same value for the temperature randomization to modify how as you can see, the parallax windows are randomized in the exposure point of view. In the twinkle, and this is really useful in my point of view, you can, this is, I think, relatable to the video, because as you can see, you again, you can't control it directly. You can see that some parallax windows are switching on and others are switching off without of course you having the possibility to say, okay, this is the one I want to switch on, and this is the one I want to switch off. You can modify the frequency and decreasing this value, so this is exactly what will be rendered in the majority of the time. But by modifying it with the values of 1, as you can see, let me just place the camera, for instance, here. Quite often the parallax windows artificial lights are switching on or switching off. And this is really useful, again, if you are dealing in particular with a video, because it allows you to, not you, but your final video to have a more realistic detail, because at least this is only a detail. But for now, I think it's done. I don't have anything else to tell you, only to render this final scene. So let me just back to a night moment. Here I already have the scene prepared, not of course with the final parameters. These will be discussed together, but in particular with the camera position. From here, the first thing, of course, I want to do is activating the Lumen engine. I will render with the path tracer, but as I explain in all my videos and inside my masterclass, I always start with the Lumen engine and then switch to the path tracer once at least the sky is set. So for the sky, I'm using an HDRI. But I think I'm going to use the only one sky I downloaded so far from this library. So I think it's here, number 10 of the nuclear sky, and taking it and just place it here. I have to download all of them maybe in a second moment to be used in future projects, because I use all the skies here from the Twinmotion library, and then let's just modify all the parameters. As always, it takes a little bit to be modified. As always, I modify the intensity of my HDRI up to 500s or 100 or as you prefer, because in my point of view it's a good value. And I'm rotating the sky position in order to create some shadows here, maybe some lights. Let me just hitting the cars. Yeah, maybe here, maybe here. Of course, I have to modify the lens flare in a second moment, but I think that like this could be good. Okay. So for now, I think that with the Lumen engine, it's okay. Let me just switch, or not switch right now. Let me just modify a little bit the camera. So from here, I'm modifying the exposure to 0. Don't be so dramatic to... let me just modify also the wind, because I don't want it to be seen. Don't be so dramatic to all these shadows, because I will modify them in a second. But in the lens here, as you can see, the vignetting is affecting the shadows effects here. So for now, I'm just leaving it to 0. Here, maybe the Lumen flares. Here is not modifying it. Maybe 500s. Yeah, maybe only because I will see it in the final render, but flare here is not that relevant. But the Lumen flares here I think, affect the surfaces of the cars here, the reflections. So I'm just leaving it as yeah, let's say 500, then I could modify it. Local exposure, I'm enabling it. And in the highlight, okay, I want to see a little bit the sky because it's useful to see something from the sky, some color, not always white, because in the rendering world we only have white skies. So let's just bring some color in these poor skies, and the shadows just a little bit reduced. Okay, like that. Inside the FX, oh yeah, I still have some sharpness. I think it's quite good. In the contrast, I'm increasing or decreasing. No, here increasing a little bit the contrast, something like that. Normally, I decrease the saturation value, but maybe here it could be useful or better having some more saturated color, in particular here for the Parallax Windows. So something like that, I think, let me just maybe increase it a little bit, could be useful. And then after that, let me just check if everything is correct. Let me just modify it. 7K. Okay, a little bit warmer. Okay, and right now I'm just modifying to the path tracer. Once you modify the path tracer, switch to the path tracer from the Lumen engine, remember that you have to modify the intensity of the HDRI. So again here, 500. Okay, rotation remains the same. But here with the HDRI, in particular when you modify the intensity here, you should, if you want to have some let's say sun effects, some flares here on the cars, you should modify a little bit the intensity, unmeshing the HDRI here from the directional light section. In particular here, you want to modify it with low values. It depends on the intensity. So if you modify it to 10 or 20, 50, it doesn't affect a lot your final scene because it refers to this value. Let's say that this is your 0. So if you want to see some differences between, not between, but in your scene affected by this intensity, this near intensity value, you should modify it up to the, let's say, the 0 of the intensity modified here. So right now, I think it's much more warmer, the scene. So I think it's good, but before, let's say, let me just see if everything is okay. Lens, okay. But before starting with our test rendering final phase, it's important, as I said before, modifying the Parallax Windows exposure, because right now, as you can see, this restaurant here or bar or whatever it is not that exposed, and here these apartments elements are a little bit overexposed. So let me just back, well, I'm not using the Lumen engine, I'm just leaving the path tracer. I'm selecting maybe this one, this should be exactly this one, and then modifying 5, 6, let me just see. Okay, with 6 value as intensity, I think it's quite good. Maybe 5, just, no, 5.5, there. 5.5, okay. Then the others, in particular, these ones and this one should be a little bit modified. So let me just try, not this one, yeah, this one could be 2.5, okay? This one as well, 2.5. And this one, 2.5. Okay, but I think here that we have the curtain elements that are affecting the scene, so I'm just disabling it, as you can see here, from this one and for this one as well. Okay, but here, let me just modify it to 2, and the same thing applies to the ones on the higher floors. I'm just disabling the curtains because I don't want to see them, but from here, 4, no, 2. Okay, let me just see what's happened with the path tracer. yeah, I think right now it's quite better. Here it is happening something a little bit strange. Oh yeah, because maybe I still, okay, you have to modify, okay, a little bit the position. And right now I think it's quite good. Let's just see the differences between this scene with all the parallax windows on and this without them switch on. As you can see, yeah, the windows are reflecting the elements coming from behind the camera, but I'm not seeing anything inside of them, inside of these spaces. So, in my point of view, activating them here is something really useful to do. So, right now I'm just selecting it, applying the medium quality for the path tracer. If you are rendering with Lumen, it's the same, but of course you have to modify the shadow accurate and Lumen settings to the maximum, but I'm using the path tracer and then exporting the final scene. Okay, everything is good. And let's see the final result. So after a really couple of seconds, I think 60 seconds, this is the final result with the medium quality. Yeah, of course, there are some details, a lot of details that need to be not modified, but increased. But we will with the final path tracer settings. But as you can see, oh yeah, here the bloom effects I was talking about a moment ago. So it's quite good here, the effect. And as you can see, all the parallax windows, in my point of view, are working perfectly. And I think that there is nothing I have to modify right now. All the details are quite good and nice to be seen here. Yeah, I could apply a lot of other parallax windows here on this scene, but for now I think it's enough. So for the final render with the path tracer, I'm working with 512 in sample per pixels, and max bounces you could use 15 or 20. It's up to you. The image, like it is right now, it's perfect, and then just click on the final export. It will take, for me, I don't know, maybe 1 minute or less, but it depends a lot on the elements you have inside your scene. So, I really thank you for joining this video, this explaining video for this new amazing feature introduced with the Twinmotion 2025.2 version, so the Parallax Windows. And I can't wait to see all your results or your renders created with these new, really amazing again tools that brought the Twinmotion quality level to a higher level than before. Again, thank you so much for watching this video to the very end. And if you'd like, just drop a comment with the topics you'd like me to cover in the next video. And nothing, just thank you for being part of my community, and we will see in the next video. Ciao!